those of you who missed it, Mama Rose was the mother of Gypsy Rose Lee, who was the greatest strippers since Salome. Now, I don't know how much you all know about stripping. As a profession, I mean. Because it was a profession, you know. They had a union and everything with a sensational dental plan. I guess you're surprised to see how much I know about stripping, huh? I had to do all the research on Gypsy Rose Lee and her world. And Gypsy Rose Lee's world was the show business gulag, known as Burlesque, or as it was called in its own time and its own place, Burlesque. Now then, how to describe Burlesque? Well, it was vaudeville with an X rating. There was nothing in Burlesque you'd be afraid to show your mother, as long as you could be absolutely certain your mother had seen herself naked. Naturally, I wanted to share some of the more interesting aspects of Burlesque with you all tonight, but I couldn't possibly, because the best stuff is simply too dirty, if you catch my drift. And with my newfound stature, this is no longer a possibility. And don't try to force me either. Besides, I can tell just from looking at you all, you're too sophisticated to ask me to pander to your baser instincts, aren't you? Oh my God! Well, forget it! I crossed the line into family entertainment. I'm going for the big bucks. I worked very hard to achieve this grandeur. So if you're looking for that kind of smut, you'll have to look someplace else. Ain't that right, girls? Girls! Oh my God, girls! Girls, get a grip! Girls, how many times do I have to tell you? I work for Walt Disney! Oh my God, my past has returned to haunt me. I'm powerless to resist. Pretty legs, great big knockers, that's what sells them tickets at the door. Yeah, pretty legs, great big knockers. Honey, these are real showstoppers. That's what keeps them coming back for more. I'll never forget it, you know. My boyfriend Ernie and his best friend Louie used to sit on the front porch of the rest home all day long. And I used to get all dressed up and parade in front of them, just trying to get a rise out of Ernie. One day I decided to surprise him. I wore absolutely nothing. Louie turned to Ernie. Say, what's Soph got on today? I don't know, says Ernie, but it sure needs ironing. That's what keeps him coming back for more. I'll never forget it, you know. My girlfriend Clementine is a lady of the evening, and the morning, and the night, and the noon. One time, I happened to overhear her negotiating with a customer. She said, that's going to be $100. The customer said, $100? For heaven's sake, the Dutch bought the entire island of Manhattan for a mere $24. That's right, says Clementine, but Manhattan just lies there. That's what keeps them coming back for more. I'll never forget it, you know. My boyfriend Ernie said to me, Soph, if you could learn to cook, we could fire the chef. I said, Ernie, if you could learn to fuck, we could fire the chauffeur. I'll never forget it, you know. My boyfriend Ernie was suffering from silent gas emissions. I sent him to the doctor. He said, Doc, you gotta help me. I'm suffering from silent gas emissions. Last night at the opera, I had 8 silent gas emissions. This morning, playing pinochle with the boys, I had 4 silent gas emissions. And sitting here with you in this office, I've had 5 silent gas emissions. What the hell am I gonna do? Well, says the doctor, first thing we're gonna do is check your hearing. That's what keeps us coming back for more. I'll never forget it, you know. Sometimes I like to go to the doctor myself. There's nothing wrong with me. I just enjoy stirrups. One time I came home from a fabulous checkup. I said, Ernie, guess what? Doctor says I got the constitution of a 20-year-old girl. Ernie says, mm-hmm. He says, I have the heart of a 20-year-old girl. Ernie said, mm-hmm. He said, I have the lungs of a 20-year-old girl. Ernie says, mm-hmm. He said, I have the liver of a 20-year-old girl. Ernie said, mm-hmm. And he looked me over and he dropped the bomb. Say, did he happen to mention your 80-year-old ass? I said, no, we didn't talk about you.
That's what keeps them coming back for more.
All right, girls, one from the vault.
Ooh, I love these.
That's the best part. These jokes are ancient. I learned these jokes when I was 8 years old. I've been telling them 20 years. Move over, Carlos. I'll never forget it, you know. I was having tea one time with my girlfriend Clementine. The doorbell rang. There was a delivery boy there with 24 roses. I opened the card. It said, hello, from your boyfriend Ernie. I said, Clementine, do you know what this means? For the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be flat on my back with my legs wide open. Clementine said to me, what's the matter with you? Ain't you got a vase?
That's what keeps them coming back for more.
There's ladies here.
Really?
You're going like this. Last of a dying breed, I'm telling you. I'm trying to bring my daughter up to be a lady. It's some proposition after she heard the mouth on me. Really, I washed her mouth out with soap the first time she said the F word.
No way.
I did. She was only 4.
Really?
And she heard my show. She said, Mom, can I wash your mouth out now? She had brought me a whole box of Tide. I'll never forget it, you know. The longest time I didn't wear... It's a little boomy in here, isn't it? It's boomy, isn't it? Shit. That other Jewish girl singer, she brings her own carpet. I forgot the carpet. Would you mind just kind of spreading your jackets over the floor? I'll never forget it, you know. The longest time I didn't wear no underwear. Used to drive my boyfriend Ernie absolutely batty. One time I caught terrible cold. Ernie says, Soph, you gotta go see the doctor. I says, okay, make an appointment for me. That's make an appointment for me. Am I talking too fast? Am I talking too slow? Should I just go fuck myself? Am I talking? Is it okay? Is it too boomy? Well, put your jackets on the friggin' floor like I told you to. What happens now? I forgot.
Finish the joke.
Huh?
Finish the joke.
Oh, the joke. Yeah, but what's the joke? I forgot where I was.
You'll never forget it.
I think I have part-timers. See, when you remember some, but never all of what you were talking about in the first place. I'll never forget it, you know. I was having caught a terrible cold, and he says, go see the doctor. I said, make an appointment for you. Oh, so, okay. So unbeknownst to me, he rings up the doctor and he says, Doc, listen, I'm sending Soph over. She's got a terrible cold, but that's not the problem. The problem is she don't wear no underwear. Tell her the reason she got this cold is because she don't wear no underwear. You got that? Right-o, said the doc. So I, like a schmuck, trot on down to the doctor's office. Doctor says, Soph, how you doing? Open your mouth and say, ah. I opened my mouth and I said, ah. He looked down my throat. He said, you ain't wearing no underwear. I said, I beg your pardon. He said, you ain't wearing no underwear. I said, doctor, you can look down my throat and see I ain't wearing no underwear. He says, that's right. I says, doc, do me a favor. Look at my ass and tell me my hat's on straight.
That's what keeps them coming back for more.
I'll never forget it, you know. I had gone to the grocery store for some odds and ends. I looked around for a suitable-looking bag boy to help me into the parking lot with my purchases. On the way into the parking lot, I am ashamed to tell you all, I was overcome by an attack of passion and bad taste. I grabbed the bag boy. I said, young man, I have an itchy booty. He said, I'm sorry, lady. I don't know one Japanese car from another.
That's what keeps them coming back for more.
you know. My girlfriend Clementine has to go on retreat once a year to atone for her many, many sins. She goes up north to the Little Sisters of Unbearable Chastity. Once while she was up there, she discovered she had a spiritual power, a power for healing. It wasn't long before the entire retreat was overrun by people seeking to be healed, touched by Clementine. One day, Clementine was in the shower, naked and soapy. There was a knock on the door. A large nun walked in. Yo, Clementine! There's a blind man outdoors to see you. He's got something important to say to you. Clementine says, Sister, I'm in the shower, naked and soapy. I cannot receive anyone in this state. The nun says, oh, Clementine, be a sport. He's a blind man. He's got something important to say to you. Very well, says Clementine. Show him in. So the door opens, and the blind man walks in. He looks at Clementine. He says, nice tits. Where do you want the blinds?
That's what keeps him coming back for more.
She's marrying a doctor. So if your kids need shots, just call on my daughter and ask for a husband. A doctor, give all thy may plans. Actually, right now he's an intern, but soon he'll be a urologist. So you should all make appointments if it burns when you dish. Every checkup finds a setting and a serving dish. A doctor, oh really I'm compelling. It's a Jewish Mother's Day. Because now I can complain about every ache and a pain, and I never have to pay.
She looks good. She looks good.
I'll never forget it, you know. It was the time I actually met my boyfriend Ernie for the very first time. I was in my underground parking garage in my beautiful condo down Boca Raton. The underground parking garage gate opened, and the most beautiful silver Mercedes I'd ever seen drove through the gate. Behind the wheel was the handsomest man I'd ever laid eyes on. He parked the car. Well, you know, I strode right over to it, and I said, oh, my, what a beautiful car. He said, do you think so? I said, oh, yes. He got out of the car. I looked him up and down. I said, and you are the handsomest man I've ever seen. Look at you. Beautiful hair, handsome arms, handsome legs, handsome torso. Why, I'll bet you even have a handsome... He said, many have written home to say so. I said, well, I personally would love to see it myself. He said, would you? I said, oh, yes. Well, long story short. He unzipped his fly, and there it was. I held it in my hand. He was a very tall man. And I said, don't you ever park in my space again!
That's what keeps him coming back. That's what keeps him coming back. That's what keeps him coming back for more.
And in between the terrible songs and the awful jokes, the specialty acts, and here are 4 gorgeous specialties, even as we speak.
Take 4 terrific girls and only 3 costumes, and you're cooking up something bright. Mixing some amber lights and elegant scenery and stirring a fine jazz band.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, tonight in the tradition of burlesque, we are proud to present the tableau vivant. Yes, living pictures. Tonight, 4 verities, truth, beauty, music, and art. As beauty, we present that hardy perennial, Miss Daisy Chain. As music, the wild and woolly Iona Mink with her $1 million muff. Here's Lotta Miles as the naked truth. And lastly, as art, Penny Mento and her Cubist movement.